go ahead and get us started. Thanks for being here with us today. I'm so excited to see all of you. There's a lot of new faces that I've never met before, so excited to have you here with us. My name is Ashley. I am the director of Creative Tides, and we are a nonprofit that exists to resource creatives in the local community. So a lot of that is for church creatives, worship teams, tech teams, but we are also wanting to make sure that all creatives in our area feel resourced. So we're starting to branch out into a little bit more broader topics like songwriting, and then in May we have a workshop on the topic of videography. So the point is to resource you with free or accessible resources, as accessible as possible, as well as to connect you with a community of other creatives here locally and some local experts, just so that you have some resources of what's around. So we are a nonprofit, and so I just wanted to thank you if you did donate for your registration. That is very, very appreciated. Like I said, we try to make everything free or as low cost as possible, but it's not free to put these events on. So any donation is really appreciated. Any support is really appreciated. And part of that support also comes through merch purchases. So we have a table in the lobby with some sample pieces of merch. Some of us are repping some merch today. So if you want to grab some swag, you can see some sample pieces and then even place an order out there at our table. So we're going to start today. We're going to kick off on our songwriting workshop. We have Ausdin, Lemmons, and Jess, Littleton that are going to get us started. So they're going to give some kind of like pointers and tips, some instructions, some teaching time, and then they're going to do a live demonstration of what the songwriting process looks like. And then we're going to release you guys into groups. And so the colored stickers on your name tags will explain what that means and kind of what your role looks like when we split into groups. But for now, I'm going to hand it off to these guys and we'll get started.
Yeah. All right. Good morning. Good to see all of you. Jess and I, we've been friends for a few years now since I've moved up here, and we've been writing together for some worship music. And it's really excited to be here to dive into this. So today, our main focus, because songwriting is such a huge topic. If you guys don't know, Professor Aaron Barnhart over here, he actually teaches songwriting production over at George Fox, and he gets a whole semester to dive into all the nuances. But today we have a few hours, and our main focus today is actually going to be co-writing. And some of my Fox students I connected with this week, and they asked me that. They're like, hey, we're talking about songwriting, but we're not going to co-write, right? It's like, no, we are. And I know for some people that could be a scary thing. So by a raise of hands, who's ever co-written a song before? Okay. With hands raised, was that a good experience? Would you say like you like co-writing? And then
that is so accurate. Okay, yeah. It depends.
And then maybe I raise a hands of like I like never want to see this person again because we were like fight like it was the worst experience. Yeah. So that's part of our goal today is to talk about co-writing because I absolutely love co-writing. I know Jess does as well. I got to go to Contemporary Music Center in Nashville, which some other Fox people in here have done that. It was an incredible program. That was one of the big areas that we dove into. And it's a beautiful thing when you can co-write because you can only think as much as you can think, right? But then when you bring somebody else in, you can create something new and beautiful. So what we're going to do today, we're going to dive into some tips, some tricks, and hopefully make that a good experience. And maybe if you're running into experience, you're writing with someone and feel like you're not getting somewhere, it's going to be some helpful tools. So first thing we want to talk about, all of you guys got name tags and fun little colors on those. Hey, what's up, Alexa? You guys got fun little colors. So songwriting, you guys already kind of know this, is a creative form. It's subjective. So I'll say, too, with a lot of stuff we're going to say, these are going to be guidelines. Later, if you're writing a song and you did it completely different than what we suggested, that's totally fine. And not like, oh, well, Austin and Jess said do this way, but I wrote this song this way, right? Songs can be written a million different ways. But as we've been in co-writing sessions, these are typical roles that we see. And so those three roles that you guys identified, is you got this first one that like kind of an industry fun term is like top liner or like a melodies person. So these people typically in a writing session are going to, a lot of times a stronger vocalist, but doesn't always have to be someone who in that creative flow is, man, they're coming up with hooks, they're coming up with great melodies. Another role that you can typically see is this editor type role. That's somebody who like identifies a little bit more with lyrics. And I say a lot of times kind of that role is probably somebody who's typically driving that shared note of like, okay, whoever's on the melodies, writing this great little hook, and then somebody's like, okay, that's great. Let me start writing down these lyrics. And as they're putting out ideas, that editors help and go, hey, you know what? Could we say it this way? Could we say it that way? And then that third role typically see as like a producer type role, where somebody who's kind of thinking a little bit more big picture, thinking chords, thinking structure, and that could be helpful too. Like maybe you could think about some of those bad experiences you've had. It's like, well, maybe that's because you had two editors in the room and you guys are just like fighting over the lyrics, or two producers. It's like, no, this should be an EDM song. No, this should be a country song. No, this should be, whatever that is. As a fun example, Jess and I, as I mentioned, we've written some worship music, and we've written with our really good friend Sharif. Funny enough, the hat I'm wearing, we wrote a song called Hope Blooms for a conference. But then we were working on some other songs as well. And we did a writing session a couple weeks ago. And without this even being spoken, we didn't start go like, hey, do you want to do this part? Do you want to do this part? We just started writing. But very organically, we dove into those roles that Sharif was just cranking out melodies. And it was just like, oh, that's great. That's great. And Jess pulled out her laptop. She's like, oh, okay. And I pretty much almost wrote all the lyrics of the song as we were going. And then I was kind of thinking chord structure, okay, the overall feel of the song. And what we want to share about this, and what we reiterate multiple times, is those roles can be fluid too.
Yeah.
We both have shared, and probably some of our other more seasoned writers can think like, yeah, I've been in songwriting sessions and I've played that role. I've done this role. So it doesn't mean that you're locked into like, you know what? I never write a lyric ever because I'm just melodies, and somebody else got to figure that out. Those can overlap. The colors can blend, right?
Yeah.
You can do orange and green, and it can be a new color. As a fun example, do I have any Trailblazer fans in the house in basketball? Rip City, yes. I'm a diehard Trailblazer fan all of 1 year. I decided at the beginning of this season...
Crazy.
I decided that I was going to become a basketball fan and pick the Trailblazers, because when I lived in Southern California, I couldn't pick between the Lakers and the Clippers. So I was like, I'm going to go Blazers. So if you guys know the player Donovan Clingan on the Trailblazers. So at the very beginning of the season, this guy should never have attempted any shot because he would miss everything. It was obnoxious. I'm like, why is this guy shooting? Like, he just needs to defend. And he's a big guy on the team. He was doing amazing defending, and that was a great role he was playing. But if you watch the Trailblazers now, this dude is hitting threes left and right all day long. So that might be you. Maybe there's a writing session that, like, you know what? You were just like a good hang in that session. You were able to be a support. I have a fun story of writing with Taylor where with two other people who were just crushing it. I really feel like that was my role, as being a support and helping guide a couple ideas. Yeah. So I wasn't really like a top liner in that writing session. So maybe that's like, hey, you know what? I'm more of that like defender today. Like, okay, this is how I'm going to support this role. And I think there's a lot of like being secure in that. Like, it doesn't mean that you're not valuable in that writing session, but as things are creatively flowing, you can let that breathe. But your next writing session, you could be Donovan Clingan now and hitting threes all the time.
Yeah.
So if that's helpful, just kind of kick that off. Those are kind of the three main roles to kind of keep in mind. That today for the exercise, when you guys get to write later, I'm going to try to like you guys start there. Maybe you'll end somewhere else too. But
yeah, it happens. It does happen in songwriting sessions too, where you'll hit maybe you'll hit a wall. And I've seen this happen in our songwriting sessions too, where I sit primarily in the editor space, we've hit a wall, like we're maybe with a melody or with a chord progression, and we'll kind of switch roles. So it's like, actually, I don't know if this lyric works, but what about this melody here? And then Sharif will step in and start writing, or Ausdin will start writing lyrics, and Sharif and I are taking over melody. So it's fluid, but I think the purpose of identifying these roles is just to give you some encouragement and like build up your confidence as you sit in a space of like, oh, this is what I bring to a space, and also a level of humility of I'm working with other people who bring things that I need in order to get a song out from my head and into the world. But it is very fluid. So we don't ever want anyone to feel like they're like, oh, I only bring lyrics. I don't have melodies. There's been seasons where I've been stepping into songwritings and I come expecting to do lyrics, and actually what I end up doing is melodies. I don't even touch the lyrics. And so there's always a level of humility, but this just gives you that confidence as you step into a space. When I first started songwriting, I didn't know what I brought to a space. And it wasn't until really diving into co-writing that I realized like, oh, this is where I default. But then also in co-writing, my co-writers pull out of me, and I also can do melodies, and I can do chord progressions, and I can think about songs in a bigger context than just the words that we're saying. So these are just tools to help you grow in your confidence as you write songs.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, oh, look at that. Yeah, we got slides up there. So that's the first tip, is just know the roles. Like, those are kind of some general things. There might even be even more roles that you expand on that. Second thing is let the creativity flow and don't edit too early. So I remember watching this really cool interview with John Mayer where he was speaking a little bit more of like writing on his own because, he's John Mayer. But this also very much applies, I think, in co-writing about like not editing too early. And what he would talk about is like, man, like I'm the man, like as he's writing, he's fighting that critical side of his brain, as he's like writing this riff or whatever. It's like, this is the best idea I've ever heard in my entire life. Yes, keep going. Because if we edit too early, maybe he's like, it's a goofy little moan, and then later he can go, oh, that lyric should be, it's just a silly little moan, for Slow Dance in Running Room, right? So letting things breathe. So even in co-writing, that not to negate the role of an editor, because you kind of need that, because you all of a sudden you're on 15 minutes on an idea that you're like, this is not a great idea, but let it breathe, right? Don't edit too early. Let it like, oh yeah. I think even a fun example, as we've been writing some songs, like even sometimes too, you can have a specific idea that you're like really married to, and then somebody brings something else. Like there's a song we're working on a bridge. I had this bridge idea, and then she sent a new one, and at first I'm like, okay, let me think about that. I like let it breathe instead of like, no, I like my idea, and I was like, no, this idea is way better than mine. I'm gonna scrap mine. So, let the creativity flow. Don't edit too early. We're gonna talk a little bit later about some like good collaborative tools too. Of like, you might build that relationship with somebody that you've been knowing for years, where you can go, that's a dumb idea and it doesn't like hurt their feelings. But there's some other fun ways you can do it as you're building relationships. So that's the second tip. Let creativity flow. Don't edit too early, but that doesn't mean that you don't edit. But just don't do it. Don't do it too soon. Third tip here, which this is a phrase I would say is used a lot more like as a producer once a song is written and you're like building the arrangement of the song, but I think also still applies to writing, which is always serve the song and like you're listening to the song. So for instance, if I got this guitar riff, that's Crazy Train, right? But like, say I wrote that guitar riff and we're writing a ballad. I'm like, but you guys, this is the best guitar riff on the entire planet. Like, no, we have to throw this. But hang on, this song is not about like a crazy train spinning off the rails, so, right? Like this, like listening to the song and serving the song well. Like a fun example, my dad. It doesn't matter any song I'm working on. His first question is always, "Where's the guitar solo? Where's the guitar solo?" But a song doesn't always need a guitar solo. No. But when it does, then my dad's gonna be stoked. So be mindful of that. And that's not even just like musically, right? Like lyrically or melodically. I could have this dope run. Like we got Talia in the house who she can do some runs over here, right? Which don't hold back from those. But maybe sometimes that run doesn't quite work with what I'm saying there. Maybe I'm like over singing it. Like maybe it needs to be simple. Like how do I serve the song? Mm-hmm. Even lyrics like we talked about this in a previous writing session. And I'm totally forgetting. I should know this guy's name off the top of my head. There's a famous songwriter who talked about it's okay to speak in plain English. We don't always have to. Ryan Tedder. Yeah. Yes, he had this interview where he talked about that. I was like, hey, it's okay to speak in plain English. We don't always have to be this big poetic thing. So what's serving the song best? Awesome. Okay, last tip. I'm going to get a little specific on just like some fun like chord ideas. Then I'm going to then pass over to Jess where she's going to dive into some lyric stuff. But kind of still on the idea of like serving the song. When we like putting chord progressions together and stuff, it's good to start in a starting place. So say you're in your group and you guys are like, yeah, we're going to write an R&B love song. I got to this R&B show a couple weeks ago and there was 4 or 5 songs in different keys, but all had this progression. Right? I mean, there was like 6 hours. Like, what song is this? But what I'll say is cool is the headliner for that night was a rapper, which was kind of cool. He like did this R&B groove and he was rapping over it. But here's how we can start to get creative is like, okay, if I'm writing an R&B song, those signature chord progressions, those signature things are important, right? So because you want to be able to communicate the song that you're writing, but how can we get creative? So speak a little bit more to my like musicians, all kind of stuff in the room, is like what I really liked about this, the headliner's like big single, is he just did like a simple chord substitution. Instead of going 4, major 3, 6, the minor, and then going over there to that passing, what he did was he did a chord substitution. He started on the minor 2, and then there he made it a diminished, and it was like, oh, it felt really fresh, just those couple little changes he did. If you're writing a country song, right, like that, like already like says country, right? Like, you know, that D shape that starts you there, but maybe instead of going 1, flat, 7, 4, a tip you could do to break the mold a little bit is go 1, and then I could do a chord substitution. Go minor 5 there, 4, back to 1. Some different ways. But also, with Jess and I were talking about this, sometimes it's perfectly fine of like, you know what? It's this. It's the 6, 4, 1, 5, which has been done a million times in pop music, worship music especially, right?
I think for those of you who are in the room who are a little intimidated, like, why is he talking in numbers? What is he talking about? The chords and chord progressions might not be your like sweet spot, but you hear it as a vocalist, or a songwriter. You hear those chord progressions, and they're communicating something. And there is something about most songs, like worship songs, for instance. If you lead worship or you've listened to worship music, you're using the same chords. It's just like letters. You can formulate any sentence with the same letters. But what Austin's inviting us into is thinking a little bit more critically about what you're communicating and how those letters correspond. So those diminished and minor chords are serving the song because we want to create some kind of emotion that flows with the lyrics and what we're talking about. But just as I started songwriting, and I sat in spaces with musicians who'd been playing instruments way longer than I have, I was like, hold on, why are you talking in numbers? What's happening right now? And just to encourage you that those are the building blocks that we use to build songs, these chord progressions. They're pretty standard. Like what's the chord progression for like any country song?
Yeah. So if we're looking at as the D's are 1, flat 7, 4 is a good
so
go-to
you can,
there, yeah.
I mean, you could turn on a country song and some variation of that is going to be playing. With worship, it's what are the chords you got? Like if you're in
that's 6, 4, 1, 5. You know, our God is greater. So many things.
Yeah, and then for pop, you have pretty close to that too. But just for those of you who in the room who maybe you're not playing an instrument today, what Ausdin's talking about is just really understanding the building blocks you have at your fingertips, and then how are those serving the song as a whole? Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, those are just some, as you're writing, a fun little tip to like think through there. So, but it's okay to start with like, hey, as you pick that genre or style you're going for, to start with what's signature and then like build off of that. So, Jess going to dive a little bit more. So there's a tip on just kind of a little bit chords, music side, and then we dive into lyrics.
So Ausdin was talking a little bit about like how even just subbing in different chords within a progression can change the tone and the emotion of a song, and that's a part of it, but also our words really shape how someone hears and what they think about, and we invite people in with our words. So we're going to spend a little bit of time today just talking about like how like our writing processes and what tools we have at our disposal as we're writing songs. So one of the things I just wanted to share for me personally when I write primarily worship music or Christian-based music. So if that's not your vibe, then these tools might not be helpful for you. But when I step into a writing session, I bring my tools with me. And so my tools are a laptop or a phone. And on my phone, I have a notes app. And I also have the ability to record whatever's happening in the room. So there's a ton of different apps out there that you can download. I'm sure you have them as you sit at your pianos or your guitars and you're like plunking through a little song, but bring those tools with you. Also, don't forget there's a dictionary and a thesaurus. A thesaurus is super helpful. I use a thesaurus a lot because sometimes I'm trying to think of, like, I have an idea of what I want to say, but my default word is not hitting the mark. And so going to a thesaurus and seeing like similar words has been super, super helpful. Like, oh yeah, and actually that word brings me to this word, and it's just super helpful. So those are really important things. And then for if you're writing worship music, I will always tell you, you need a Bible and you need a commentary. I brought my favorite commentary. It's $12 on Amazon. It's called the NIV Compact Bible Commentary by John Sailhammer. And it's great. But if you're writing worship, I'm speaking specifically to those of you who are writing Christian music or worship music, you should have a Bible open and you should have a commentary available, because we want to be creative, but we don't want to be heretical. Right? And sometimes we can write a lyric that sounds really great, but actually misses the mark of what Scripture is saying. And so that's just my for those of you in the room who want to start writing worship music, that's just my encouragement to you. Like, make sure you have your Bible open and you have a commentary available. You guys are pretty familiar with the basic structure of a song. Can anyone tell me, like, what are some components of a song? Like, bridge, great. Hey. What else? Verse and chorus, yeah. So these are things that are simple to think about, but as you're writing, actually, sometimes you'll start writing and you think you're writing a verse, and it turns out you're writing a bridge.
Yes.
What was that? Was that Chris Tomlin? How great is our God? There's a song, a very famous worship song where he's like, he wrote this verse, and he's like, actually, that's your chorus, man. His editor came in, and he's like, that's your chorus. And so being mindful of the purposes of each of those components of a song as you're writing, but also being humble of like, I've lost count of how many times we like have written something and we're like, that's a verse, and we're like, that's not the verse. It ends up being a chorus or something like that. But a couple other things that have been really helpful for me to remember besides my tools and just the basic structure of songs is not everything has to rhyme. Please stop making everything rhyme.
Blue Moon June, you know?
I'll say this, I've said this in our songwriting sessions too, it's really tempting, and this is part of like, don't edit too early. When Ausdin's saying don't edit too early, this sits in that space of like probably our default when we're writing, especially for those of you who are lyricists, is you're gonna grab the platitudes, the things that you've heard time and time again, like and go to those things. But then, and we're gonna do an exercise that's gonna help us with that. But don't stay there, because there might be a new way to say it. And so don't edit too early. Let it sit in this space. But also, I would say, how many times have you heard the same phrase over and over again in a song? And there's an invitation there for you. To think more critically about what you're saying and what you're conveying. So they don't always have to rhyme. And along with that, just be aware of your syllable count in all of your lines, that if you're not rhyming, syllables are your friend. You can make songs sound more cohesive if you're really mindful of your syllables. Is there anything else you'd add to that, Ausdin?
No, I think it's great. I mean, I think exactly that. Like, I think sometimes the rhyming, we can get locked in that. And there's times that it's actually really important to establish a rhyme scheme. And there's some really great tools. Like I've used Master Writer before that will do the thesaurus stuff, but even show you like X rhymes, which are kind of fun, where it's not like a perfect rhyme, but it could be a way that you can say another word that like the vowel shape will kind of relatively rhyme and it'll feel right. So yeah, I think I feel like there's one thing I was gonna add and I forgot it. But yeah, that was great. Yeah.
And like, full humility, I've lost count of how many times I'm like, rhymes with this, and then in Google and get all of the things that rhyme. So like, I mean, this is just part of the creative process, and I'm learning and I'm developing as a songwriter, and will continue to learn and develop. And so, so just want to encourage you in those things that like, as you sit and songwrite, like use your tools. We're not looking for, I don't think that the process is like all of a sudden you just know how to do it. I think that the wonderful thing about songwriting is you develop over time. And then you have these songs that kind of are little time capsules of where you've been in your creative journey. Yes. And so what an invitation. So use your tools. Don't edit too early. Yeah. So
I'll add really quick, on top of what she just said. And with songwriting, lyric writing, all of that, it is a muscle that you build up, right? Because all of you guys have developed your musicianship as a vocalist, all of that. This is developing that. And I'll give it, we don't have time to get into this topic. And Aaron and I have many conversations, right? But that's the danger of AI, right? Cool tool, we could dive into all it. But for now, like today, like don't use it, because build that muscle. Allow yourself to build that creativity, because the more and more repetition you do it, the stronger you're going to become. There's with your creative muscle.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move into some real practical, like we're going to practice in the room together. We're going to learn. I was a worship pastor and a students pastor for the last 8 years of my life, and I led teams of students who are learning how to lead worship. And we had this saying that we're all learners. This isn't loser anymore, guys. It's learner. We're learners. redeemers, and so we're going to learn together. I love redeeming those things, right? Like, people will be like, I'm a learner. And then we would do, what would happen is, like, in a set, if, like, one of us made a mistake, we'd just be like, I'm learning. Because I'd make mistakes, they'd make mistakes, we'd be like, we're learning. That's so great, we're learning. Because that's, like Ausdin said, the whole purpose of songwriting is creating, and creating is a process. So today we're gonna practice writing a song about love. Now, love can be anything, right? You can love your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or you can love the idea of someone. You can love your car. You can love feeling sad. You can love all sorts of things, right? And so when we're writing songs, we need to know what we're talking about before we move to the how. So I want you to think right now, before we jump into this, what if you're going to write a song about love, put it in your head, because you're going to work from that. What do you love? Like anything. It doesn't have to be, it can be anything you want. But just think for a moment about what, if you're going to write a song about love, what would it be? Okay, sit with that. If you have a pen and paper, I would encourage you to get it out and write it down. So as we're talking about things, as we're sitting and we're writing lyrics, there are some spaces where we need to be really eloquent, and we want to paint pictures, and we want to draw people deeper in, and so we're going to use a lot of words. And then there's some instances where we need to be really short and to the point. And again, these are muscles that you develop as you're songwriting. And part of how you discern those things is sometimes you're singing and you're like, wow, I'm stumbling over my words. Maybe I need to shorten that a little bit. Or sometimes you'll be writing, and as you're listening to the chords, you're like, actually, like, this needs to say more than just I love you. It needs to say more than that. So we're going to practice that today. We're going to practice learning how to expand off an idea and how to contract. So expanding, taking something very simple like I love you and saying it different and more eloquently. And then the second thing that we're going to learn how to contract is, this says, the course of true love never did run smooth. That's from Shakespeare. I didn't write that. He does a good job of writing. And so we're going to do this in the room together, because what we do here, we're going to write a song from that in this space. So what are some ways that we can say I love, thinking of that thing that you love, or that person, or whatever, however you answered that question, I love you. How would you say that in a different way than saying I love you? And just shout it out. I'm going to write it on the board. I'm also a horrible speller. Horrible speller. So please be
creative
gracious.
Speller.
I like to just, spelling's a suggestion, right?
Phonetically,
Like,
you know?
Okay, so what are some ways that we can say I love you without saying I love you?
The word adoration.
Ooh, adoration, okay.
Right.
Devotion. Wait, let's say it in a sentence. Like, you wouldn't be like, adoration. Like, right? So,
I mean, I could.
Hey, you
I
good.
adore you. Okay, I adore you.
I choose you. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
Stand closer.
Stand closer.
Your presence brings meaning.
Ooh. Okay, what else?
I cherish you.
You are the peace that I seek.
Okay. What else? I like to stand closer. Let's think a little bit more outside the box. Maybe let's not use the word I.
Hold my hand.
Hold my hand.
Kiss my forehead.
Ooh.
Oh, some imagery there. That's nice. Wow.
Stay a little longer.
What?
Stay a little longer. Sit with me.
Be my scrapbook.
Oh. Be my scrapbook.
Okay. Anything else? Ausdin, if you were going to say, I love you, but not, I love you, what would you say?
I bleed for you.
I bleed for you.
I'd say I bleed for you. Just came up with that right now. That's what AI does. Don't do that.
No, what would you say?
There is something I'd seen recently that is evoking this for me, but like, hold me to the end.
Oh. See how words just do it?
Yeah.
We all were like, oh.
Yeah.
Don't break my heart again. I got the Portland Trailblazers in my mind.
Oh, that is, yes. They are heartbreakers. Lost 50 points against the Nuggets, man. I was at that game. That was.
I think what I would say.
You are home.
You are home.
Hey.
Love it. Okay, one more.
You're my breath.
What?
You're my breath.
You're my breath.
Can you do one more?
Yeah.
It aches when you're apart.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay. All right. So now we're gonna do the opposite. So we did this. We thought bigger. Now we're gonna do it smaller. So this says the course of true love never did run smooth. Say that short. Say it. I'll go first. It's not really short, but I'm saying it bigger. It's different. You gone and done me wrong.
You gone and done me wrong. That's plain. That's plain English.
Yeah.
Gone and done me wrong. You know, it's country. Yeah, yeah, very blues.
It didn't work out. What else?
Love is a bumpy road.
Ooh.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay.
Love runs on the rocks.
Meaning in the heartbreak.
Okay, hold on.
Right past your chest.
And repeat what?
Meaning in the heartbreak.
Meaning in the heartbreak. I'd say messy love. What else?
I went off this roller coaster.
Ooh.
Hey.
Okay. Anyone else have another one?
Highs and lows.
Highs and lows. Okay, Taylor, what would you say?
You empty me.
Oh man. Taylor's sneaky over there. You know.
Anyone else? Go.
Didn't ask for a broken heart.
I didn't ask. I
Hey.
Just didn't ask.
didn't ask.
Didn't ask.
What about jump without looking?
Ooh.
Come on, Robbie.
Anyone else? Old news. Cool. Okay, so this is great. So we took two sentiments and we said them differently. And I think when I was talking about platitudes, those common sentences or phrases that you hear time and time again, like "you'll get through this," or "I love you to the moon and back." These are things I've heard. Have you guys heard these things before? I love you to the moon. Yeah, okay. They're great, and they have staying power for a reason. "I love you" is great, and it has staying power for a reason. But the invitation we have as creatives is to think more broadly about what we're trying to communicate. And as you're thinking about the Blazers and how you didn't want them, right? This is the tension, right? Like, I'm going to be thinking about what it is I'm trying to communicate, how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm trying to say. And I don't want them to break my heart again. I don't want to watch them in the semifinals and watch that last shot miss and be like, crushed. So that was the point of this practice. We're all feeling it? Okay, so then we're going to move into now actually writing a song.
Yes.
So we're gonna invite-
and we're gonna invite the one and only Taylor Anderson up here. Give it up for him. Pull out your phones, follow him on Instagram, Spotify, all the things. Credible artist over here. So we're gonna, exactly, Jess said. We're gonna do a live demonstration, working off what you guys created there. But we're gonna also give you guys examples of these roles. So I'm gonna be the producer-minded person, Jess, editor, and Taylor's got all the pressure to just come up with some killer hooks over here as our top liner, melody person.
Lots of coffee though.
So this is completely unrehearsed plan, and that's the point, is you'll be able to see some examples. And that's the beauty of songwriting, is to create safe spaces. Normally there's only 3 people in the room. Now there's 30 of you guys in the room. But yeah, the idea is to be able to present ideas and all this kind of stuff. So
Got my note out.
got Jess is already on top of it. Which, on your phone, you got notes and voice memos. Don't forget those, especially come up with the idea. I can think of so many times I forgot to press record. They're like, what was that melody? It's gone. Just record it. Yeah.
Just record now. Okay, so as we look at this, I'm really pulled towards a stay a little longer, hold my hand, stand closer. Do we want to write a little ballady kind of thing today?
So if I could share, this is going to be very heavy. We're about to go super deep in 3 seconds. Because you said that, and when I thought of my lyric, there's one of my former professors back in California, she married a pastor, and he's on hospice now. And I saw this video last night. He'd been fighting brain cancer for several years, and they don't know how many days he has left. And there's a video of, she's a singer and somebody playing guitar, and she's just holding him, and they're just singing. And it was just, that's where I hold me to the end and stuff. So I don't know if we want to go that deep, but that was something this love song.
I mean, that kind of works for me. I had a friend pass away from cancer complications a couple days ago.
Oh.
And so that's really real for me right now.
Yeah.
Too. So I think that's so. Let me back out a little bit. That's also a super key part of, I think, songwriting is when you're writing, the strongest emotion is usually the place to go from. Ryan Tedder actually talked about Miley Cyrus being she's just raw. She's just all of it's out there. So I think that's I like that feel. Can you remind me which ones you were talking about?
Hold
Me Till the End.
Yeah, hold me to the end, hold my hand. So I have, we walk this far through the sunshine and the shadows. Would you hold my hand? I'm thinking kind of leading the listener to a place where they're now bedside. So we kind of paint this picture of a life lived, a rich life lived, because I'm assuming that's where you're at, right? And then we kind of end the song, or maybe the chorus sits in that's that hospice space where but we don't call it a hospice space. Are you feeling any?
Yeah, I got a melody for the.
Okay.
You said I walked so.
We walked this far through the sunshine and the shadows.
Something like. We walked this far through the sunshine and the shadows. Would you hold my hand?
Yeah.
I think that's a really good pre to go.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, who's doing the voice memos out here? Who's recording?
I can't have the notes app open and be recording at the same time as the bummer.
Yeah,
Sweet. Thanks. You got something in the back.
Good.
Okay.
I'm the worst at recording it. I'm that was great. Where'd it go?
So musically, as they were talking, I just had tools in my tool belt. We're talking about something sad, super easy. I'm gonna go minor, right? And I was just kind of thinking through the different chords and motions. Maybe some of you guys heard I was fumbling around. I was here, and then I went like 3, and I did this, and I was like, it sounds too mysterious, right? So I was like, and then I went 4, and I was like, this feels right. Go to the 1. It almost feels like that 6, 4, 1, 5, but then I inverted it. So there was kind of some new and different voicings to make it feel unique.
Okay, and then I said, so would you sing that melody one more time? And then sing that part too.
We walked this far through the sunshine and the shadows. Would you hold my hand? Fresh face, stormy rain through the night. My eyes are so bad. Meadows. Hand in hand. Yeah, I like that.
Do we want to get really, like, do we want to stay kind of vague with the lyric of, like, or do we want to get granular? I'm thinking if we're going more ballady, I kind of do want to get a little bit more granular, like the house, the picket fence, the dog, the minivan kind of thing.
Kind of reminiscing on those memories.
Yeah,
of
like
life.
kind of markers. Or do we want to stay? What do you guys think? Should we get a little bit more granular? Yeah? Okay.
I like the word granular. If we can fit that word in there.
So right now I have, we walked this far through the sunshine and the shadows. Oh, yeah. Would you hold my hand? Fresh-faced we ran into open meadows, hand in hand. I'm going to put this in here so we all can see.
The other idea that I had was, like, if we're going to the meadow theme, the idea, like we were talking about, of loss or potential loss, like, but you stayed here.
Oh, yeah.
Or you, I don't like the idea of them necessarily leaving the space, but you kept going and they, I don't know, maybe it's reversed or.
Yeah.
But the idea of loss could be really, I don't know if we want to do that in the chorus or if we want to do that in the, sounds like a pre-chorus, but we're working towards.
Yeah.
I feel like the resolve would be like they're not able to hold hands anymore.
Mm-hmm, yeah, right.
Thanks. What are people thinking in the room?
You guys are freaking talented.
I think the beauty of, like, songwriting is, like, we've talked a lot about roles and, like, parts, but there's really no rules. There's, like,
Yes.
I feel like songwriting is more relational than it is, like, transactional. Mm-hmm. So if you lean in a transaction way, the worst songwriting that I've had is, like, transactional, where, like, the label sets up a producer and the producer's like, man, this is what I think should happen. I'm like, I'm so uninterested. I'm already gone. And my attention span is so short already if I'm not, like, if I don't have a relationship with somebody. Another thing with co-writes is, like, chat beforehand. Just hang out. Just, like, get to know someone, ask them, because it is relational. And if you're not hating the relationship part, it can, if there's a bump, it's like, I'm out. At least for me, I'm just like, I lose interest.
Yeah. Well, it's very relational, and take a big step back. What is the job as a songwriter? What is the job in doing music, right? We're putting the sound of emotion. So that's what hit me. I saw that last night. I'm feeling that as I'm driving here this morning, where Taylor's at, where all of us are feeling this, like, this is our job now as songwriters. How can we express these heavy emotions and stuff? So, yes, business execs, producers, sometimes you be in those environments, and you have to figure out, how can I still accomplish that in those type of environments? But it's so important of, like, cultivating that and connecting and relating. And that pre-chorus real quick. I was trying to see if it should be a full measure per change, or do you remember your pre-chorus melody? It should move like that, or do you think it should be a full? What do you guys think? Or should it go faster, or does it feel right to stay the whole measure? The whole measure, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
about to, I don't know, but it's about to get darker, right? It's about to get more expansive. This idea of love lost, all those things. I like that ramp up.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, my day, here we go. We're about to hit that chorus.
Yeah. And here's just a quick tip about serving the song. So my ear, I want to go like this because I like it. Is da na na na, right? But now if I do that, it's gonna pull us out of the moment, right? Do that passing chord. So how do I serve the song? Even though hey guys, I can play a diminished chord. Let me show you guys. But don't do that. Be confident, be secure in who you are. Serve the song, right? The song doesn't need that. You know.
This is a good exercise for me. I haven't written a non-worship song in a very long time. This is a good exercise. I kind of feel like the maybe we explore what if the meadow is a metaphor for their relationship, then maybe the pre-chorus can like further explore that relationship. So I wrote first dances, stolen kisses, laughing through the hard things, flowers in every season, and kind of pulling from that imagery. But what do you think? Like,
Yeah.
if you explore a little bit more, like if we keep that the meadow metaphor kind of open, and that they're in it, but then we kind of get to see each of those little flowers. The one flower is the first dance, one flower is a stolen kiss, one flower is like the kids. And what other, like, can you give us a little bit more of like, maybe from both of you, the stories that you're writing from? So they know, they have the what in their head right now, what they're writing towards. And now we're exploring the how. So as you're thinking about those people that you've lost, what are some markers of their relationship that you'd love to capture? I'm making some assumptions because I don't know these two people, so I'm assuming that they've had a first dance and that they had these like a really sweet dating time, stolen kisses, and that they laughed through hard things.
I was just thinking about the specific one I'm thinking about is like songs we sang and then songs we won't sing. So like this tension of like, this is what we've done. Like that was what I was seeing, is seeing her sing with him. Yeah. It's like, okay, this grieving of like, this is coming to an end. And there's going to be a time songs they're not going to sing together. I don't know if that's too early in the song to jump that. Maybe it is still want to sit more in like past things, and maybe that's a second pre-chorus.
Or it could be leading to the chorus. The chorus could be something like flowers that never bloom, or something that like the end or the loss. I don't know. I think of like if
ending in the middle of a season.
Yeah, I'm very little. You know this, but like I'm a huge Beach Boys fan, so I'm like, this feels nice. Cars are good. Like very like direct, like very straightforward. I'm not like very like poetic in my approach. Which again, knowing yourself is like huge in songwriting. I'm like, this is a great chorus, and I'm like, no, it's a verse, and I'm like, this is a good hook. No, that's a verse. I think like what I'm thinking in my head is, if we're going with the meadow theme, I'm like, how would you communicate a fire coming through and burning? Or I don't know, but it's like, they're just ideas. They're just, you just like let things roll out, and you're like, I don't like that. Like you figure out, again, relationship, you're like, I like that, but how do we make something, what about this idea? So it's like, but I think key is like, if you don't say it, it will not exist. So like you just spitball, you just throw it out there, and if it's bad, then you're like, whatever.
Right.
But
because
bad
we're not editing too early.
Yeah, it's relative. Like
Yeah.
Oh.
I just have a question. So I might have been in the restroom when you guys started talking about this, but is the goal that you're going towards in the chorus to be like this landing place emotionally where it's meditative and reflective, or is it something a little bit more? Because as we were talking about the movement in the pre-chorus, I'm thinking, everybody's like, I like it slower. I was like, I kind of like it faster, because as that moves up and it stair steps, then you can land somewhere in the chorus, and it can be a little bit more reflective. But I don't know if that's the intention that you guys are thinking of in the chorus.
It's really spiraling and reflective about things. So it's like more words and like more chords going there, and then as soon as you land, you're like, it's like you get a break.
Yeah.
I mean, but you can also just go up, up. You can go back to another verse if you're actually.
Right. Yeah. Maybe we don't hit the chorus, right? Like you could go to the pre, and then now you're back to the verse.
If we want to go for a longer song.
And I think the question you asked there is such a good, like, serving the song to what's being said, because it's like we're creating live, right? So that's like us to look at each other like, yeah, what are we saying here? Like, what are we feeling? What do we want to say? Do we want to go there where it's this lift? We're going to continue in the storytelling, or do we want this to be do we want to bring hope in this? Which I think worship music is getting better at this, but like a lot of worship music has a really hard time staying in grief. But we look scripturally, there's so many examples of like, actually, there's no moments we're going to unapologetically be sad. And at church, when
What are you talking about?
you got a 60-minute service, like, no, we don't want people sad. We want to be happy, and they're hype on coffee and donuts. Like, why are we trying to bring them down? But as grieving, so that's a great question for us to ask. Do we want this to have element of hope, or no, we're just going to let this emotion be what this emotion is, and there's no answer to it. And sometimes that's even beautiful in a song of like, let the listener answer the question. Yeah.
I just want to say something from, I'm a hospice nurse.
Oh, wow.
From the perspective of a patient dying at bedside, they go through what's called a rally, and people think, oh, they're coming back, they're not actively passing. And the rally is where they have a moment to talk with everybody about the highlights of their life. And when she's like saying picking out the flowers, I mean, they talk about, the best times of their life.
Yeah.
And all the families around them, and there is some sort of up-tempo about that. I mean, that's just kind of from a hospice nurse perspective.
Yeah, I've been in those spaces too. I've fortunately and unfortunately been bedside at several people's passing from this space to the next, and it's beautifully heartbreaking because you get to walk alongside them in memories, and in the instances that I was in, there were memories that I wasn't a part of that they were sharing with me. And then we got to a point where it's like, oh, that's where our timelines connected, and then we departed. Our timelines split again. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful because this person in their last moments are thinking of all of the beautiful things in life, hopefully. And it's heartbreaking for those left behind because all we have are these like dried flowers. Like they're not
dried flowers.
Yeah.
That's
Ooh, hey. Dried flowers over. No, just kidding. I really want to show you guys I can do those chord changes. Let me show you.
What about this?
But I do think allowing for the song to kind of pull some of those flowers so that we get a little peek. Did you have something you want to say?
Yes, I was going to say I love the direction you guys go because I love the dichotomy in it of like as a lifting chord progression. Sometimes it's a falling and lyrically the direction you guys are going. So I really love that feeling. And I was writing down because when I write, I like to do it narratively. So like in the verse you guys had, it was like being in the meadow, sitting with it all. And then those are the three choruses, like the meaning and feelings of it. But it's like a rising in the chord progression, but also there's a falling lyrically, and I just love that. Which is I was getting excited to see where you guys are going to go chorus-wise after that, because I feel like it's building up to a moment where there is the pouring out. Pouring out, you are really just going through all the memories with that person, the cherished memories, the loss, and all of it. You're just pouring out in the chorus, and then it goes back to the verse when you're again back in that meadow.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
That's great.
Time-wise, we want to make sure you guys have time to go write. So I know we left you guys hanging. So I don't know. I think we need to set up a writing session and finish writing this song.
Yeah.
Could we give a thanks to Taylor Anderson up here, the man with the plan? So we're going to set up your guys' co-writing sessions, just talk about a couple of things, and then send you guys off. And you guys have maps and all the things. So just going to recap. And I think you guys get it. You just saw a live demonstration, said it. So the three roles, top liner, melodies person, editor, producer, kind of think in those different lanes. And so you guys have tags, and you guys can talk about that. Once again, those can be fluid. You can switch them up. I don't know anything last you want to add on that. I think we've said
No,
a
I
lot,
think
yeah.
just remember it's a process. So you hit a wall. Maybe that's an opportunity for someone else who's not a lyricist or editor or a top liner to step in. But it's a process, and enjoy and have fun. Like you might a couple of things. You're going to go off in your groups, and you're going to write, and then your guys are going to come back and share what you've put together. And it's supposed to be a fun space. Now we just spent how long was that? Like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I don't know how long it was, but it wasn't very long, and we don't have a whole song yet. So you probably won't have a whole song after your hour and 15 minutes of songwriting, but you're going to come back and you're going to share what you guys came up with, and we're super excited to hear that. But just enjoy the process and enjoy one another. Anything else?
And the goal today is actually start with a brand new idea. Maybe some of you guys already have a half-written song. Let's not do that today. I think for today's exercise, our biggest takeaway is we want you guys to have tools for songwriting. We kind of skipped a little of this. I'll just very briefly, and actually Aaron can talk way more on this, but there's so many different philosophies with songwriting. Like, okay, who's, what percentage, stuff like that. We're going to do this Nashville style where everybody writing in the room, if there's 3 of you, this song is equally in 33%, right? LA, right? We go, well, actually, hang on. I wrote the chorus, so I get 60%, and so just to kind of have that understanding. Those are kind of things you can dive into later, but that's what we'll do today. I'll really quickly just talk about this idea of collaborative and cooperative. So today the idea is a collaborative environment. I think some people who've shared about like some of those rough experiences before, maybe you've been in a cooperative environment, and there's a time and place for that, right? Like even in writing, there's some, and Jess and I both shared this experience that we've been invited into a thing, and it's like, oh, I'm helping you write this song. Okay, great. I know my role in this. Let me help you unlock your best ideas, and that's great and fine. Today, the idea is for everybody to be able to contribute, be collaborative. A fun phrase that I've learned from a good friend of mine, Channing Stockman, who's an incredible writer. He says this all the time. We get stuck on a lyric, and I'm like, this is a great idea, right? And then he goes, we can beat it. Let's, instead of saying, no, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. So that's like a fun phrase. Think of just different ways to be a good collaborator. Jess, do you want to add on that?
No, I think that's great. I think where you'll have visual understanding of who's kind of stepping into which space, but remember it's fluid. I don't think I have anything. Ashley's got big Post-it notes, sticky notes that are going to be super helpful as you write your lyrics. Remember to grab your note app and some way of recording what you're doing in the room. You'll have a coach with you who is there to help encourage you and point you in the right direction. But you guys are writing these songs together, so have a great time.
We also have, if you want to use Bibles, we have Bibles at the check-in table. If you want to write with Bibles, there's water bottles up there, as well as additional maps, or if you want to use the backs of the paper to take notes. If you want to grab a few sheets off of this, I have Sharpies. You can take it to your rooms. Do they have a prompt, or are they just writing?
Oh yeah, I guess we.
On the topic of love, or
I think we said.
I say let's keep this up to your guys' group. So if you need a prompt, let's go off of love. This is maybe a good starting place. What we just did. You can also kind of hear from your group if something's resonating. There's also some exercise. We talked to a couple of your coaches. If you're really stuck and need some icebreakers, there's a thing called Think, Pass, Write, where one person starts to write a lyric, then you pass it. Somebody writes another lyric, and that could be a good starting place. But I'd say, that'd probably be good of just kind of those some different references, see where the writing leads. They're going to go till 11:15, right?
Yeah, be back in here by 11:15, and feel free to take food, coffee, whatever you need to keep your creative juices flowing. So you are dismissed.